It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming from Monday, March 9th. I'm Mac Watson. The Wyoming legislature overrode 4 of Governor Mark Gordon's 25 line-item vetoes to the budget on Friday. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that the governor says everyone is calling his budget a win.
So while the House maybe had more qualms with Gordon's vetoes, Gordon, when he was talking to Cowboy State Daily's Jake Nichols on Friday, was saying, wow, this budget, everybody's claiming a win. He said that more than 90% of his recommendations were ultimately adopted. So yeah, he was happy with the budget, had some qualms about separation of powers, and wanted to give business-ready communities back its money and give UW more flexibility, and he succeeded at both of those vetoes.
The budget no longer hinges $10 million of the University of Wyoming's $40 million block grant on the UW crafting a roadmap to $5 million in savings by December 1st. An Evanston couple is celebrating the latest additions to their family, fraternal twins who together weighed more than 18 pounds. Cowboy State Daily's Dale Killingbeck reports the big babies were brought into the world naturally by an 82-year-old midwife.
When they went for their 20-week ultrasound, they found out that they were going to have fraternal twins. And so she still wanted to have the babies at home. But in Wyoming, there's a law that says you can't do that. You can't have twins at home with a midwife. And so she looked to a friend in Utah that she had mentored under and called her. And that midwife, Chris Miller, helped her through prenatal time. And when it came time for the babies to come to birth, they went over to Ogden, Utah. And the babies were born. They were both over 9 pounds, and according to the Wyoming Department of Health, they set a record with their weight together being over 18 pounds. So 2 new babies in the world, both of them very healthy and both of them pretty hefty.
Hope and Raleigh Henderson welcomed the twins, a boy and a girl, into the world on March 3rd, weighing 18 pounds, 10 ounces combined. It's been nearly 60 years since Doug Chamberlain, a Marine veteran and later a Wyoming legislator, came home from Vietnam. Cowboy State Daily's Zach Sontag reports that the war changed him as he's still haunted by the soldier he was ordered to leave behind.
He was commanded to bury one of his fellow Marines, which was totally against the protocol of never leaving a fellow Marine behind. And he did so, and it got worse because he organized a follow-up rescue mission to get this Marine, and he would discover that some of the higher-ups on the chain of command had also attempted to cover up the fact that they made this order, which was very much against everything that every Marine was told.
Long before he was a rancher, a rural postman, or Speaker of the Wyoming House of Representatives, Chamberlain was a Marine Corps captain in Vietnam who survived firefights, landmines, leeches, and cobra snakes. A Triceratops named Trey has been a popular exhibit at the Wyoming Dinosaur Center in Thermopolis for over 30 years. Cowboy State Daily's Andrew Rossi reports that the dino is now on the auction block and has a pre-sale estimate of $5 million.
The reason why the Triceratops skeleton, which was previously on display at the Wyoming Dinosaur Center for almost 30 years, is on the auction block is because it's private property. It's the property of the owner and the founder of the museum. And if that dinosaur could be sold, that raises the possibility that others could be sold as well, as long as they have that potential price tag on there.
A nearly complete 150 million-year-old Stegosaurus skeleton named Apex sold for a record-breaking $44.5 million at Sotheby's auction in New York back in 2024. Purchased by billionaire Ken Griffin, the 11-foot-tall and 27-foot-long specimen is the most valuable fossil ever sold at auction. I'll be back with more news from Cowboy State Daily right after this.
Out here, everything takes longer. The miles in between teach patience. They teach you what's worth driving for. In Wyoming, miles are how we measure love. The distance you'll go to help a neighbor, to pick up your kid from an activity, or to visit someone you care about. That's why Hilltop Bank rides with you through every mile. We're not just close by, we're traveling the same roads. Hilltop Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Cowboy State Daily News continues now. Wyoming author C.J. Box drew a huge crowd in Cheyenne for his new Joe Pickett book, The Crossroads, which debuted at #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. Box's 6th in a row, by the way. Cowboy State Daily's Renee Jean was at the signing and reports One fan brought 30 books, the most he's ever signed for a fan in one sitting.
There was kind of that little, momentary bug-eyed look. He just kind of laughed and shook his head and started signing. If you're an author, that's a good problem to have. Somebody liked your book so much that they wanted every one of them signed.
Not only did The Crossroads debut on the New York Times bestseller list, it also topped Apple's list and the Associated Press's list. That's the first time CJ has ever had a book sweep. Artist and fish taxidermist Alan Darlington grew up in Upton, said he majored in going to the Buckhorn Bar at the University of Wyoming, and learned his craft from a master fish taxidermist in Rawlins. Cowboy State Daily's Mark Hines reports that for Alan, fish taxidermy is more of an art than a science.
He wanted to be an artist. He was like one class short of an art degree from UW and got some kind of job at the state archaeology office and walked into a taxidermy shop one day and was like, hey, this is art. I want to do this. And then a fish taxidermist came into the shop one day and say, hey, I'm looking for someone to mentor in fish taxidermy. And I think you'd be a good candidate because you're essentially an artist.
Darlington tells Cowboy State Daily that he gravitated toward fish taxidermy because it involves his two favorite mediums as an artist, sculpting and painting. Frontier cowboys, coal miners, buffalo hunters, prostitutes, saloon keepers, and lawmen did dangerous, dirty work in the frontier West. Cowboy State Daily's Renee Jean reports that dynamite, disease, stampedes, and shootouts made death an everyday occupational hazard.
Think about being a cowboy back then. Nobody's your friend out there on the open range. Wolves, bears, American Indians, cattle rustlers. You work a 15-hour day. At the end of it, you don't even get a hot shower because they don't exist yet. But probably the most dangerous job would have been working in a coal mine. They sent those guys down into the dark, basically. You had headlamps, but they were open gas flame. You think a town job might have been better? I don't know. Think about being a saloon keeper. There you are with, rowdy ranch hands and traveling merchants, quote unquote, who knows, who might have just been bank robbers, all of whom have drank enough whiskey to make really poor decisions.
Life in the wild, wild West was, as Buffalo Bill Center of the West historian Paul Hutton puts it, tough, grim work. In a frontier world where everything was inherently dangerous and there wasn't much in the way of either cleanliness or comfort to soften life's harsher edges. Cowboy State Daily's Anna Jackson joined the cast of Sharktana, a shark horror comedy filmed in snowy Montana, and actually landed a role. Anna says it was fun being on the set with so many actors who were extras from the popular television series Yellowstone.
So the main scene I'm in, my daughter, her name is Alice, she's playing with a snowman and a shark is coming to attack and I'm frantic. I'm looking for her. One of the leads is telling everyone to get off the mountain. I rush toward my daughter as the shark is coming out. You'll see it in the photo on the story. What happens to me, you'll have to wait and see when the movie comes out.
Anna says that the movie should be coming out in 2027. No word on where we can stream or watch Sharktana. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting that daily newsletter button at cowboystatedaily.com. And you can watch this newscast every day by clicking subscribe on our YouTube channel or listen to us on your favorite podcast app. Thanks for watching. I'm Mac Watson for Cowboy State Daily.